So a couple days ago, I made a video about Wakanda Forever, basically, pointing out all the major issues in that movie. You should probably watch that video before you watch this video, because it's really context dependent. But I made a similar video over on TikTok, and a guy decided to stitch my video, disingenuously framing my arguments and strawmanning my arguments. I offered him to come onto my stream. He didn't want to do it. We'll see if he does in the future. But yeah, the stuff he says, not only in my comment section, but also in his video, let's just call it not very, smart discourse. If you want to watch the full stream where we go over multiple different arguments and disagreements with people, you can go find that on the channel. But this is just a short segment where we discuss this video and someone else who wanted to come onto the stream and argue about a similar point. And let me know if you guys want me to keep doing these like short segmented disagreement days. I know a lot of people don't want to watch a full stream, so if you want me to keep doing these shortened versions of disagreement day, just let me know in the comments. However,
first we gotta watch something.
We've got a nice video to go through today from someone who thinks that minorities in the modern day for the past 30 years or probably 40 years are treated just as bad as yeah, it's the same as mutants in the X-Men universe, which is certainly an interesting take.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was running away from a Ultron bot that identified black people. And,
I'm sorry you had to deal with that Sentinel SK. Really,
Yeah.
Must have been a traumatizing experience.
Yes, we could see it.
Alright, let's let this thing play.
Oh my god, Skinny Pete jump scare.
He is so fucking bad.
Alright, we can skip my part.
Cool. All has changed since then.
JP.
Cool. Do I even really need to explain why this is weird?
Yes, you very much do. You very much do.
Right? I mean, based on our conversation in the comment section, I had to. I made the comparison to Magneto, and he was like, no, dude, that's crazy because reasons. I brought up reasons.
Because reasons. Alright, hold on, let's duplicate this. Let's go to the comment section real quick from my thing.
So I'm just gonna make it clear, some of the biggest plot points in the X-Men movies is 1, mutant genocide, 2, mutant genocide. And that's like, I'm not saying shit hasn't happened before, I'm saying in present day.
Well, the thing about it, right? The thing that's different, like, I feel like a big key difference here, right? The stuff that's going on with mutants in the X-Men universe, I don't know about the comics, haven't read the comics, but I'm talking about the Fox movies, because that's what I know, that's what we've been watching. Namor, I mean, not Namor, Magneto was, like, experimented on as a kid. His family was murdered because he was a mutant, pretty much. Or his mother, more like. His father was probably killed in the Holocaust. The experimentation stuff. And that was, like, what? How many years from, like, First Class, even?
Even though, like, the Holocaust still happened during that time, and that's been, like, decades later.
Yeah, so
he's
that's
still coming back to the people that are still alive responsible for it, and there's still shit happening to mutants. They're still actively planning things. It's all over the media and shit.
Something you gotta take into account also. Hold on, Stir. Like, this is, like, First Class is a bit after, it's, like, probably 30 or 20 years after the Holocaust or World War II. But even without using First Class, you have to take into account, not only is Magneto he's been around and experienced racism not only on himself, but, to other races and other, like, mutants. That's been a major part of his whole life, right? So it's much more prevalent in Magneto's life, as opposed to Namor, who has a society for comparison right now. Plus, all around the world, it's like racism is nowhere near as prevalent as it was 50 or 60 years ago.
And just to clarify, we're not saying he can't be mad about it now. What we're saying is that he literally wants to start war with these people for that reason, when literally he thinks that'll destroy his civilization.
Well, and it also,
exposes him.
Yeah, and it contradicts his fucking goals. It's like, you want to start a war, which is just which is going to put your society in danger anyway. And then on top of that war putting your society in danger, the war will also get you exposed. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't think this guy played that part of your video. He clipped that part to make it look bad.
Well, yeah,
and he didn't play the rest.
Yeah, and he was also...
It's like, it was leading to a wider point about why him starting a war with people is fucking stupid.
Well, yeah, he's also...
He also wanting to protect his kingdom.
He also pulls up the whole CinemaSins, let's just let it play it. Let's just let it keep playing. But I do want to show, because he said reasons. Let me find his comment real quick. He says, and racism has just stopped, and racism had just stopped. That's what young Namor was exposed to. It's part of why he hates humanity. So I said this. And he says...
So he hates... I just want to mention this real quick. So he gets mad when he sees slavery happen. So he wants to flood all of humanity, including victims of racism.
Well, not even that. Like, he wants to start a war with, like, the world and, like, the surface people. Is he, like, just gonna genocide white people? Or is that gonna go for every other race? Even though...
he's doing it with other races because in Wakanda he kills random innocent people for some reason.
Well, yeah, that's... true also. So he said, bro, tell me you didn't just say racism isn't prevalent right now. So he just completely strawmanned my fucking point. And then just...
nowhere near is a complete... Like, I think that's the distinction there. I don't know how you missed that.
Well, I know how he missed it, but, let's let his video keep playing out.
Racism, because Namor was a child during slavery and witnessed firsthand the dehumanization of his own people by colonial forces because they look different. A thing that even to this day still kind of happened, to which he says it's not as prevalent. Can't compare what happens to mutants to what happens to people of color, despite the fact that mutants themselves are analogous.
Analogous doesn't mean equal. I don't think you understand that.
To sit here, I mean, we already went through it, but like to sit here and actually try to compare racism in real life to how it is for the mutants, especially in modern times. Like,
robots come out of the sky and kill every single minority in sight. Yeah. Literally just what happens just for existing.
His longer form YouTube video about all this. And it's even worse. Bro graduated summa cum laude from the School of
Dude, 26 minutes is not that long.
I think he was saying long form, because it's like...
I know, I'm just saying.
Nitpicking. Why are they making such a big stink about vibranium detectors? WandaVision already showed us. No, they did not.
Yes, they did. Verbatim, they did.
I want to hear the distinction. Just listen.
Hold up.
Sword does not have vibranium detectors. They just have vibranium from Vision's dead corpse.
They don't have vibranium detectors. They just have this thing that detects his vibranium. Okay.
Going after Riri, doesn't he realize the government has blueprints to that? No, they don't, because they stole it. A key plot point in the movie is that Riri's device was made for a science class. Her professor stole it and worked with the CIA to find vibranium.
And then they would copy it, and then the CIA would copy it as soon as they get it.
Of having all these files,
even without saying all, but without saying all that, the easiest fucking counter to that is literally, Namor does not know this. He's never informed of this information.
It's not hard.
Namor doesn't understand the concept of copying files.
Literally, it's like fucking, like, do you think nukes
This is just proving our point. He's the dumbest villain in the MCU.
Well, do you think, like, nukes were just never gonna be made again if, like, fucking Oppenheimer died right after he made it? But yeah, this guy's video, fucking stupid. I don't know if he purposefully said the misinformation about the whole WandaVision didn't have the tracking vibranium thing, but that's not true.
Well, I think it's just, how do I describe it? He's trying to reconcile it in a way that it sounds like it makes more sense, but he doesn't realize how little sense it, because I don't think he understands. The basis of them tracking Vision is vibranium, so that means they analyzed the vibranium on his body and realized, we have a way of tracing that.
Well, they say verbatim in the show, we're tracking the decaying signature of vibranium, which means they can track it. Like, what?
It's not vibranium, it's just Vision, bro.
But yeah, to try and, like, the shit we already talked about, to try and compare fucking real-life minority racism or, discrimination to mutants is fucking insanely stupid. But yeah. So now, let's start with the disagreements. All right, I mean, we can go with the first point. We can start with the first point. So what's the disagreement with Namor's motivation? Why do you think it's good?
I think it's good for what he's going for in the movie because of the fact that his calling for doing it isn't just slavery. I feel like you misunderstood that. That was like the spark. He explains his motivation that I feel like even if it is wrong, I feel like works for his perspective of things. It was even as ignorant, and I feel like there was reasonable rationalization for why he would perceive the surface world, aka us, as bad, regardless of there could be more, I feel like, strategic takes of it. And I feel like some things that he's going for is maybe reasonable, and
so
it's not necessarily.
I want to hold on real quick. I want to say that I know I don't think that Namor thinking this way of the of the surface world is inherently flawed. My main discussion with it is how he goes about that. How he goes about that anger, that grudge. That's the biggest problem, I think. Because his whole, thing with the surface world can just, it should be much more tamed down at this point, especially given that he has a comparison to Wakanda, seeing how their society has been treated for the past 8 years.
Well, here's the thing I disagree with, though.
Okay.
He hasn't seen entirely all that. From what I know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when he compares, he basically judges off of what they could do, regardless of how they would do it. And I don't know if this is entirely a good argument. I know that him in the comics is obviously different, but Namor is kind of accurate to that. He does it, obviously, I feel like way better, but he's the type of person to do that before actually seeing the comparison.
Well, I think that's a big issue then, because if you're just starting this war with people without even doing any surveillance of the world or what the world is like, keeping up with current events, keeping up with the political spectrum over the world, across the world, I think that's really bad surveillance and security. And I think Namor, I think that's an even well, I was going to say, I think that's an even bigger issue if he doesn't know this stuff.
Well, the reason why I disagree is only the fact that, because it's a problem that you can come at him with, but I think the reason why he wouldn't care to go beyond or what he already knows is because he judges it off, I don't know, because of his status and how he feels. And that is bad, and I feel like there was some form of humble him about that, because it's humble, and I agree, it kind of backtracks on the lesson. But the fact that he would go about that has been because he's judging it just off of that. He doesn't go about that stuff because he believes he doesn't need to. I don't necessarily think that's bad, just from the perspective that my people have more capability to be in danger. I'm going to go about this just so I eliminate the threat. He
but that's the problem, though. The way he goes about eliminating the threat, quote unquote, would probably get him revealed anyway.
True, but his whole idea is just the war siege. The Riders just does that because for him and his people, that's the common thing. Granted, obviously that cannot be good from an objective thing for what he's actually going for, but his perspective, I don't think that's entirely bad, especially the reasons he gives. His thing, I obviously disagree with, because really the surface world is not a threat to him. He's exaggerating that, but he perceiving it like that, and his reasonings from the past, his age, or his reasoning, I personally feel like is valid. That's just me, though.
I mean, I'd still just go back to the case of how he goes about it, and the fact that he thinks I don't know, I don't agree with the whole humbling thing either, because I could not even comprehend how he thinks that he could beat someone who can literally warp reality, someone who's literally a god.
Why do you say that? What are you talking about?
Well, he thinks he can win a war with the surface world. So,
well, I don't think he knows that entirely those people there, which that's a point. But here's the thing: it's he has this feeling because of his weapons and capabilities. Plus, I mean, we don't necessarily get into the power scan thing. I don't think he should be able to do that. But Ryan Coogler, who is the director and writer, did say,
I know that statement, and it's blatantly just contradictory to what we see in the movie.
I don't think entirely, but
I mean, he's struggling.
You can say that for other movies.
I mean, listen, he says he's got all these soldiers and all this technology, but we see very clearly at the end of the movie, he's not taking on the surface world. He was struggling against maybe 100 Wakandan soldiers.
I wouldn't call that struggling. I mean, how he went in with it, especially being disoriented.
I mean, Thor would have annihilated them.
Yeah, Thor would have killed them without even thinking about it.
I'm not saying he could. I'm not saying he could actually stand to them. Obviously, I'm just saying
So then, why does he think? Why does he think so?
Well, I kind of gave the reason to reiterate. I'm saying, the reason why is because of his people and his technology, but arguably pride and the fact that he does have some capabilities that haven't been full shown, kind of, from what I could take.
Well, he's struggling with
he flies around and hits people.
Well, I mean, he has his vibranium spear He does have great strength as
Thor has Stormbreaker. Hulk is Hulk. Doctor Strange is magic. He can teleport him all over. Like,
well,
I don't know why he thinks he's going to take over the world like this.
I mean, you could say that for other villains and other things. Why would I think they could?
Yeah, and there's a lot of villains that are really stupid. Killmonger's really stupid. Mysterio's really stupid. There's a lot of villains that are just bad.
Well, you look at like No Way Home, for example.
I don't think that makes them bad just because they have the pride to do that. But my
whole the plan they have should at least account for the world that they're in. In fact, if we look at like smarter plans, for example, I mean, The Boys, for example, they're constantly accounting for, yeah, this world is run by supes. We have to be very careful. They have to use burner phones, for example. It's like, oh, what happens if the government or the supers, whatever, what happens if they track your activity? They're not going to do that because we're using burners and we destroy them every single time. Like that, for example, that's good writing. You have characters accounting for the world that they're in. But when you have characters like Namor who don't even think about this, doesn't even talk about this at all, it just makes them look really stupid when they really shouldn't be.
Well, I think
here's my thing.
I wanted to say, like, I think a prime example of this is Green Goblin from No Way Home. He thinks he's like, we have a new world to conquer, despite knowing like all these superpowers and all these threats are there, like Doctor Strange, for example. It not only
Oscorp doesn't exist.
I was trying to say
he's homeless. He doesn't have anything compared to what he had in the Raimiverse. So the fact that he doesn't try to go back to the Raimiverse when he finds out how he dies and how he can change it.
Yeah. Well, that's just the point we're outlining. Like, yes, I agree. Yeah. But, like, before you get the rebuttal, yes, I agree. There can be characters who are arrogant, but I think if they're arrogant and they should just be getting taken down very easily, or they really wouldn't even be much of a threat, and they have a really stupid plan that doesn't account for things that would take them, then yeah, it's really bad.
Okay, two things. I get that. Obviously be defeated, but I don't think that by stamp in this scenario makes it bad for at least deliver what he's going for. Just because simply the fact that he's trying to go and take them out because of the fact of these reasons. And two, the two people that you mentioned, I obviously think they'll beat. I have my reasons for I don't believe he would just get bodied by Hulk by the statement. But saying that in that fight he was losing and how he was fighting, I don't really think so, because he wasn't really getting beated. And the whole consistency.
Well, he said struggling. He didn't say he was losing.
Yeah, I know, but I don't really think he's struggling. That's what.
Well, that's why I wanted
mainly
I wanted the button right there because I don't know how you can say he's not struggling, quote unquote, or not being like somewhat stalemated right now by Riri. Because if that was
talking about the Wakandans, like her, I know that, like that's the thing. I'm agreeing with that. Right. I was going to say something. Like, sorry to interrupt, but I'm just trying to get this point out that, like, yes, I know that's a little bit weird, but I feel like that's mainly is because of the fact that she has stuff. Maybe that will allow her to do that. I think that's weird and inconsistent, but I just think like there's like balance that is weird with him to show. But I even think like mainly it's not about the actual power capabilities or his planning. I think it's more his attention and motivation, because his planning, I think that's a little bit off, but I think in his motivation, how he's doing it is different and better. And it's like, again, in comparison to comics, it's not the greatest point, but I feel like no more, even when he does account, he's still on one, because that's the type of character that he is. He doesn't care who gets in front of him. He's just gonna run through him. That might not be interesting or cool, but to me, character-wise, that's why I don't necessarily think it's the baddest thing, at least in this scenario, where he's just prideful and he wants to do it.
I'm lost here on this point, because like his whole goal is to keep the society hidden. Even if
that was his goal, like in general.
Right. But like even if because the whole, whether he can beat the surface world or not, I feel like that's an entirely different point. But when we get down to his motivations and his plan to go about those motivations, I just don't see how you can, like, how there's any defending this. Like, how can you be so dumb as to think you're gonna threaten an entire nation that's connected to the United Nations and think that your society's still gonna be, like, there's not a risk of your society being taken down anyway? Like, why would you not go to Wakanda first, be diplomatic, non-threatening? Like, that's just brain dead.
Well, no, he should try. Granted, his way of doing it is obviously very aggressive, but I don't think it was entirely about being hidden after the fact of him having this realization, because he just wanted to take on the threat. His original plan was to do that, but there's also consideration that, I don't know, maybe in his mixed, obviously crazy mind, I mean, my man's a crash out, that taking him out would just deplete the entire threat, regardless of being hidden or not. Like, to me, that's the defense. Like, it doesn't matter if I necessarily highly agree that that's a good plan. I'm just saying I'm trying to give a reason for why his is there and why to me I can like feel in touch with it. I just feel like it's a guy that has all his power in his own right. He feels like he's gonna go about it. And for the movie, I don't think that's that big of a deal. Like talking about the vengeance, all that stuff, I don't really think that's a real plan. And like to me, like with your point you said about like a flamethrower and like vibranium bullets, again with the topic and how he moves, right? If he's like faster and or something like that, I don't really think that would work, especially because someone like she had to drain him to make that happen, and that's a little bit janky. But I don't know. I don't really see that as a bad motivation or plan.
I mean, even when he's quote unquote drained in the thing, and they only do that for like what 30 seconds or so. He's only in that box before he starts breaking stuff.
I'm gonna take care of something real quick.
Well, not entirely 30 seconds.
AFK.
Like,
well, he wasn't really in that box for a long time at all. And even when he gets out of it, we still see him moving and like, you know, contending up there with Black Panther, who's in the grand scheme of the Marvel universe not very powerful. Like we see how he, like we already went over the Riri thing, she's just a worse Iron Man, blatantly looking at her technology compared to Iron Man's technology. Like I just don't see that point, because like we moved on from like how Namor goes about his plan back to the power scaling and whether he's stupid for thinking he can take on the world.
Well, no, it's just a motivation. I'm just saying comparison, like saying that he's entirely like weird, he can't do nothing. That's where I just kind of disagree. Like again, that balance stuff, I don't really get why or how this happened, but I feel like it's a mix of all saying because he has to go back into the water on fast lane activity because they try to make like a nerfing thing. If he's out of water for a good deal of time, then he kind of gets drained, and then that kind of like I guess has struck him more. I don't really exactly understand fully the plan because like right, didn't they in the movie Trey made a comparison, like one of the sea animals, they like absorb water to their skin. He loses that, and then you do something that's opposite of his like biology or where the fuck that happens. Again, I know that like she's not that powerful, but I think for what was going for and the fact that she caught him like on the wing, I don't know. I don't think it's that bad, but I do agree that's weird. I was just again making a comparison to when he's actually trying to do stuff. I think he can. I just think it's kind of just weird at the end.
I mean, I still just don't agree with that. Like Thor's lightning, that's obviously hot as shit. That would drain the water in his cells. A nuke, that would drain the water in his body. So there's just like no reason or logical thought going in his head that he thinks he could beat the surface world. I'm like, this just like nothing you've provided me with makes sense still.
I mean, I just disagree because I'm just saying like we're talking about just the world and stuff because he doesn't know about that stuff. And
why then, would he not know about that stuff?
Because I feel like he either didn't look deep into that or he feels like his people are enough because of how he feels.
Well, there's two problems with that. Wait, you made 2 points. There's two problems with that. If he didn't look, that's an even worse problem. If you want to keep your society hidden and you want to...
It's not about being hidden at that point.
It is about... No. Yeah. Well, hold on. No. Because at that point, your argument, that would come down. Him not knowing, that would be beforehand. What you're arguing right now is post-talk. That's after. But what we should be arguing is because if you're going to bring up he doesn't know about that, that would be before he even has this plan to take on the world or take over the world or whatever.
Well, no, I'm not trying to actually say like he doesn't know about it to the point where he's thinking about it. I'm saying that he doesn't know about that, but I was going to say he doesn't probably care because he believes he can do that. That is still a problem. I can see that like his actual plan, but I'm just saying like as the character, I don't really see how it's a problem. And Thor, like he's not on Earth from what I know, and obviously like he can still come down and wreck his shit. But we're just talking about his belief because everybody has made that point about other characters too. I mean, I can make 2 other points if we could just agree to disagree on this, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I do think we're kind of going in circles if you want to go to a different point. So yeah, for that argument, we kind of just decided to come to an agree to disagree. I don't think he was making very strong arguments. This is not to try and throw him under the bus, but yeah, he kind of just kept sidestepping and we just kept going in circles. So yeah, we moved on to other points. If you want to hear those other points, again, just go watch the full stream. And yeah, thanks for watching this video.